Post-Void is a kind of a hypnotic, psychedelic arcade shooter. You're running to one end to the other and trying to get to the last level and get the high score. My name is Josef Martinovsky, and I am one half of YCJY. And on Post-Void I did all the art and animation and sound effects and some of the music work as well. The other half is Christopher Andreasson, and he's the programmer. And then for this project we collaborated with Carl Frodin, who also did music for our first game, Aquatic Adventure, and our second game, Sea Salt. It was kind of a weird position in life. Like after Sea Salt, we were really stressed out, and we had been crunching, especially Christopher, and we kind of like lost the desire to make games at that point. And it didn't really, Sea Salt didn't do as well as we hoped, and we didn't feel like we were as happy with it as we should have been. So we made Post-Void as a way to just express like some kind of passion for making games again. I didn't really know what the game was about for a while. We were adding a symbolism, and I knew I'd just draw stuff, and then I kind of like feel out like what works and what doesn't work. I started writing poems for the game when I was trying to figure out what the game was about. So I was just writing it for myself, actually, just to like understand what the game is. And then at one point I wrote that one, the one that's at the beginning of the game, and that kind of helped me understand what the game was about. And then we could add different aspects of it, and then the story kind of became this question of like where to move to, where to live, trying to find peace in a world that's constantly wants something out of you. The idea was to push it constantly, more. And then also with the sound effects, we played the game and like, it's kind of like lame. It's not punchy enough. And then I sat another day or two, and I just pushed everything with compressors and more bit crushed and noise into every sound effect. And then I got like headaches constantly while making the sound effects, and I got tinnitus as well because I was just pushing the volume so much. And I thought that was kind of fun, or like that was kind of cool putting it into the game then, like having it more intense that way. Yeah, the colors, like if you sit for a long time looking at that orange or that red, it like messes with your eyes in the computer for a while. But I thought that was kind of cool as well. Like it becomes like hallucinogenic in its own right. And all the flashing, I mean, it's all just constantly like we're pushing every color and as much noise as possible, as much explosion or like the flashiness of everything. Like when you're shooting, the color for 1 second I think goes black and white. It's just all of these high contrast effects that happen. So we're trying to push everything as much as possible, like speed, intensity, and sound and everything. I think all of the characters represent something, an idea of some kind of a desire, like the mouth thing that's running that we call Flamingo. The suits that are always there, and the phone calls, the hands that are flying around, buzzing, ringing. So there's a bunch of things, and like the light bulb, the hand is like where the ideas come from. In my ways, like they come from the hand as a person who draws. The idol is a weird one because there's a lot of different representations. I feel like you can look into it, and it's almost a shame if I say anything because there's the mystery about it in itself is kind of interesting, and maybe that's what the head is in a way. It's just this mystery that you're trying to fill up constantly, and maybe you need to fill it up with a little bit of peace, and which is that each ending is this peaceful moment in the water, so you can fill up your head and then go through the motion of life again. But yeah, I mean, it was all kind of just symbolic views of what I see is important, what's annoying, and what's bothering me, and what I kind of wanted out of life. but in a quick, symbolic way. The idea was after the voids, after like stress and after struggle and after all of these things that we felt like we'd gone through. Post Void was like just a quick snappy name as well, but it was just after the void. That was like the idea. So after the stress. Francis Bacon was a huge inspiration. So me and my girlfriend went to Ireland and saw a huge exhibition of Francis Bacon. And I've never seen his paintings in real life, and it just blew my mind. The expressive color and like the hugeness and like these empty rooms where these deformed characters were sitting in, and that changed my whole perspective on like what I can draw and how to use color. So that was the biggest inspiration for sure. And then it's also Gustav Klimt. He's mostly known for like his paintings of beautiful women and like the kiss, but he has amazing landscape paintings. Those are my favorite, at least. And I think like it's very obvious if you look at, there's one painting of, he does like birch trees, which is, I was just trying to like have those in the game pretty much. So his birch trees. So Gustav Klimt and Francis Bacon were the inspirations for the visuals a lot of time, and also my own style, which I draw by hand, which I never got to express in a game because I always drew pixel art. And then we did a game called No Transmission on a game jam, and that was the first time I tried drawing just the way I normally draw. And then I was like, oh, we can make this into an entire game. This is awesome. Like, this is a different style we haven't seen in a pixel art game. Let's try this. The music, we made it with Carl. Me and Carl sat there and we were playing for a while, like different riffs. And I'd heard this one song called Serafina by Bambera. And I love that riff that they have there, and I just kind of inspired by that in some way. And I wanted to do something that has this like repetitive pulse to it, and so I came up with that riff and the guitar, like the beginning of the guitar riff. And then Carl he made the drums and played the bass line, and then he replayed the guitar because I'm not the best, like I don't play very cleanly. And then Christopher is a really, really good pianist. And then he just played all those synth solos. He just played like one take on almost all of them. And then we added some more synths in the background, and that was pretty much the whole song. And it just, when we had that one riff with the drums, I couldn't like sit down. I was standing up. I was so excited that it was such a cool song. And then we kind of figured like this kind of works for the whole game. Like we don't need anything else. This is it. What's interesting is that I feel like a lot of times, at least recently, we're seeing art in games become more individualist. Like it's more auteur-y. Like you can see a certain style and you can see it repeat in games. And I think that's really cool that there's more developers experimenting with styles now than I think there's ever been. And that way we can see the medium of games turning into a medium of an art medium as well. More than just a fun play, like you're just playing a game and trying to get through levels. And I think that with these new indie games coming out these days, you're finding like artists that are expressing themselves through games and not just static or film medium.